What's up, guys? I haven't filmed here at the office in a long time. I've got a lot more responsibilities at work, so I do a lot more working at work now instead of goofing off and playing on social media. That said, I got a few minutes this morning. Fingers crossed, and I'm gonna go ahead and answer the questions from this Q&A. So. Let's start. Are rest days mandatory in your training philosophy? I run a 7-day split, but the bulk of my intensity is on the first 5 days, with the sixth being extra only lifting work and heavy squats. So, I have trained for the last 13 days in a row, and I've got 3 more days forthcoming before a rest day. That said, this is not optimal. That's not what I recommend. It just so happened to work out that way. I added an extra day of jiu-jitsu, and the day I added it was poor planning on my end. And I was gassed this weekend. My training this weekend was horrible. I posted it on Instagram, but it was not up to par, and I need a rest day. I'm going to be 40 in November. I don't need to be training. It'll be 17 days in a row training before my next day of training, before my next rest day. Typically, yes, rest days aren't mandatory. Nothing's mandatory. Okay, nothing's mandatory. You can train any fucking way you want to. Nothing is mandatory. You can max out every day for 365 days in a row if you want to. Would not recommend it. I'm not telling you to do that. But your rest days are when you grow, when you recover, keeps you fresh for the next workout. I am also a person who does deloads. So nothing's mandatory. Rest days are highly recommended. And I would suggest too that, you don't have to limit your training week to a calendar week. Calendar weeks are a man-made construct. So if you do run a 7-day split, you can make it into a 10-day split and interject some rest days in there if you would like, and keep that same 7 days of training in the week, but just expand your training week out to 10 days to allow for rest days to recover. That's what I would recommend. Obviously, you can do what you wish. But you said the bulk of your intensity are in the first 5 days, and then the sixth being extra only work and heavy squats. Like, heavy squats are one of the most intense things you can do. If it's working, it's working by all means. I don't think that would be very sustainable. And again, I would just look at extending your training week out to like 10 days, and putting some rest days in there. Saying that as somebody, again, who's about to be training for 17 days in a row. But I do look forward to that rest day. I recently hit a 495 squat at 84 kg. Real talk, Mr. Just the Panda. Listing your lift in pounds and your body weight in kilos, super fucking internet hack to make it look better pound for pound. I love that shit. Any tips on how to keep that strength while trying to cut down? So my thing, that's an advanced level lift. I try not to worry about those things too much. Temporarily, you're going to lose a little bit of that top end strength. My biggest thing, and it's as much mental as it is physical, especially for, later intermediates and advanced lifters, just do something novel. What's a squat variation you haven't really trained a lot before? Maybe it's single leg stuff. Maybe you haven't done a lot of single leg squats. Maybe you haven't done a lot of front squats, SSB, whatever. Find a variation that you've not done a lot. All right. Don't abandon your squat altogether. Use Prilipin's chart. Stay on the low end range of it. Do some skill work, some compensatory acceleration work with your squats. I wouldn't even really approach heavy percentages while you're cutting. And then use a front squat. Use an SSB, a split squat, some other variation, especially if it's one you're not really super duper familiar with, because you'll be able to make neurological gains and see the number go up, and that's a huge mental win. But also, when you do your weight levels out, and you settle and you're done with your cut, chances are that novel movement that you've not trained before is going to carry over because you've not trained it before, and it's going to develop places that were underdeveloped. And when you get back to your main squat, it's only going to benefit it. So that's typically, without being hands-on coaching somebody, like my biggest piece of advice to somebody who's cutting weight and has an advanced lift, is just to not worry about said lift temporarily and focus on something novel, and then get back to that lift when your cut is over and you settle in at your new weight. Hybrid training, or are you not? Okay, this looks like it's two comments into one here. Most playing, accommodating for some frequency, also recently returned to. Oh, that's not a question at all. I guess for the time being, there's a powerlifting meet in January. I'm kind of on the fence about doing, so I've structured my lifting to be more geared toward that being a possibility, and my jiu-jitsu training is kind of separate from that. I'm going to make the decision right around my birthday whether or not I really want to do the powerlifting meet or not. I'm kind of leaning towards not, but we'll see. So right now there's less cross fat in the gym happening, and more kind of just traditional barbell lifts at the moment. Considering starting jiu-jitsu, but literally every person I've met who trained it has back issues. Tips to avoid long-term issues. Strengthen your back and core in the gym. That said, I've only been training jiu-jitsu like 4 months now, so I'm certainly no expert, but weak things break. So just, strengthen your back and core, and that should help a lot. This is the one. Your initial run up from 225 to 405 bench in a year with a full bench bro training with the bench form sets, or with the bench from Sears. Did you do much else weight-wise with that setup, like barbell rows or something? That period is always fascinating me. Anytime I think of something funky program, I just think of Uncle Freak. Full sending it to a 4-plate bench with just vibes and intra-workout Newports, and keep the heavy, hard basics in. Do you think that experience is unique to you, or do just most people just not need a ton of complexity until they're benching heavy weights based off coaching experience? So a couple things at play here. We did some curls, we did some overhead presses, just some days when we just randomly decided to do them, but it was mostly just fucking balls to the wall benching. I didn't know what a fucking row was. We definitely didn't do any rows or any upper back work or anything like that. And we played basketball after we were done lifting. But there was some overhead pressing. Again, not structured, not nearly to the intensity or volume we were doing with bench pressing. And there was some curls done, and it was mostly standing with a lot of body English. Basically just how much can we load on there and curl up. And then we would drop to really light weights and do like sets of 50 until our arms felt like they were going to fall off. But that wasn't regular either. It was just a sometimes thing. Maybe we were drinking a little bit while we were lifting and decided to do that too. What I would say is the main thing is just the working hard part. And again, results certainly not typical. Not everybody's going to get to a 4 or 5 bench press in a year. But go back and listen to some of the old episodes of the Jug Life podcast, Chad Wesley Smith and Max Ada, and a lot of the athletes they talk to, like the throwers and the track and field people and stuff. If you listen to some of what they did initially with their training, it was very much like what I was doing there with bench press, but they might have been doing it with something else. But it was just balls to the wall, fucking going all out, no pain, no gain type shit. And it's a pretty common thread with a lot of them. The movements may have been different. In particular, Adam Nelson is one that really sticks out to me and one I tell my clients about. He had this 10 by 10 workout for his legs, but it was really like a 10 by 10 by 10. So he would set up he would have machines and barbells, and I forget exactly what order or what it was, but he would do like 10 leg press, 10 leg extension, 10 squats, 10 front squats, 10 hack squats, 10 Bulgarians, 10 something, 10 something. There would be 10 things he would do 10 of, 10 reps, 10 sets. And that was one set. A 10 by 10, or 10 1 by 10s, however you want to, was one set. And he would do 10 of those giant sets as his 10 by 10. This is fucking ridiculous. He went on to be a gold medal shot put thrower. And I think he has some he squatted like mid 700s for a set of 10 at some point. But there's a lot of people back then, information wasn't at our fingertips like it is today, and we just work hard. You go in, you go hard. That's what you do. And that one, again, in particular, was bananas. But there's a lot of stories like that, and I love those old Jug Life podcast episodes because they had such a wide range of weightlifters and powerlifters and track and field athletes. And again, there's a commonality with a lot of elite lifters and athletes that, they just really, really went hard as fuck without kind of knowing what they were doing. And I think there's something to that, particularly when you're young. That's not something I would attempt to do now, at my advanced age. But learning that work ethic and building that big, huge base of volume. This, again, is something I tell my clients all the time is, the wider you can build that base, the higher your eventual peak can be. So there's definitely something to it. How can I include plyos and jump training into a bodybuilding regimen? Put it in your warm-ups. That's the easiest way to do it. Like if you get really intense with plyos, they can be intense, but especially initially, you don't want to jump off the deep end, no pun intended, with your plyos. I would just start with putting them in warm-ups, particularly on like your lower body days. You can start with some box jumps are like probably the easiest, most low impact things to do, and you can look at progressions and work from there. But I would look at working them in my warm-ups initially, and then as you go on with them, it's something where you can look to give them maybe their own day. The camera so I can see the rest of the questions. What's your favorite way to train bench? Generally speaking, in terms of enjoyment and effectiveness, can encompass splits, exercise selection, progression methods, etc. Basically, what's old reliable bench training like? Bench, like bench press to get your bench press up. Generally speaking, I like to like a heavy day and a volume day. The heavy day, you're working in the upper percentages, sets of 3 to 6, somewhere in there. And I like to do 2 press movements on a day. So, your bench press movement, your secondary press movement, whatever you feel like you're lacking. Close grip is always a great default to go to. I also am a big fan of pause close grip inclines. They really get your triceps, and the pause close grip incline really kind of mimics that sticking point for a lot of advanced benchers. You're almost never going to fail a bench off your chest once you get advanced, unless you just pick the wrong weight. Your sticking point is going to be fairly high looking, and close grip incline, particularly with a pause, even a long pause, you're going to find that sticking point is very, very similar. And along with the extra triceps work, always triceps. It really mimics that sticking point and teaches you how to drive through. But that's basically it. Heavy day, volume day, and then doing your bench first, and then a secondary pressing movement. Whatever accessories, like the minor ones, again, whatever you feel like your weak points are. Always triceps. Always just do your fucking triceps at some point. But otherwise, yeah, it's simple. There's not much it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. Just need to work hard and uh, you know, when you stall, change a variable. Do I need to add a third bench day, a fourth bench day? Do I need to take away a day? Do I need to do more volume? Do I need the frequency? Do I need more heavy touches? Do I need to work on my pause, etc., etc.? Does the freaky part of your name originate from your freakish strength? No, it does not. It has nothing to do with lifting. Giggity.